Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, and it's a packed city today, as you can see, because Alan Ruff, Tam McManus and Hugh MacDonald has changed to a Monday, just helping us out. Alison will be on tomorrow. Delighted to have you with us. Well, Scottish Cup weekend, your boys got through. Ruffy, you'll be happy with that?
Yeah, we're happy eventually. Definitely not happy about the sending off. We've sent a 20-page complaint to the SFA this morning.
There are 8 points in it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to start off a sure way to start off a right.
No, we're playing well, and I was impressed with Airdrie. We played them last year, and they're a lot better team than what they were last year. And I think they might challenge your crowd for promotion. So I'll be keeping an eye on the Airdrie. But no, at the end of the day, the sending off changed the game, and we were just hanging on, trying to see the game out. But there was an incident with 2 minutes to go. I just can't get my head around. You never get a chance to see it on the television.
Well,
Tiffany, was tearing down the wing. The goalkeeper came out. He banged into his own centre half, and he booked our player, who was just running in to goal to just tap it into the net. It was one of the ones you'd have to see to believe.
Well, I think we've got certainly over the course of the programme, we'll get the thoughts of everyone on referees. We'll be speaking to Andrew Shiney and getting Andrew's thoughts on Aberdeen as well, not too far away from that. And we'll talk also about injuries that are piling up and people that might not be able to make big games coming up. And let's not forget, there's also the midweek card, which we'll get your thoughts on as well, because the head-to-head is getting ever so interesting. And thank you to you for joining us on our YouTube channel. If you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell, you'll get all the notifications of our unique video content. So let's look at overall the big results. We know that Hibs are through, and we'll look at the rest of the results from the weekend just to confirm exactly who managed to get through over the course of Saturday and Sunday, in fact, and Friday as well. Hibs defeated Cove Rangers by that Kevin Nisbet goal. Rangers comfortable, and what a debut there for Alexander Lowry, scoring a goal. That will be one to remember forever and a day in that 4-0 win over Stirling Albion. Auchinleck Talbot trounced by Hearts. Aberdeen 3-0 winners over at Edinburgh City are both comfortable against Darvel by 3-0, and St Mirren no problems at Somerset Park in a 2-0 win over Ayr United. So that was the first of the card. The second part of it, there's quite a lot of results, as you can imagine. Bankside outclassed by Wraith Rovers. Clydebank and Annan Athletic served up what can only be described as the game of the whole weekend. 7 goals there, and Annan just sneaking through at the death. Dumbarton 0, Dundee 1, thanks to a Lee Griffiths penalty. And Kelty Hearts, everybody thought there was going to be a shock on this panel, and so it proved to be, with Callum Higginbotham scoring the all-important goal. Dundee United edged past Kelly, and Livingston, with a solitary goal, defeated Ross County. And elsewhere on the card, here is the confirmation of the final results. Motherwell 2-1 winners, not 4 as it says there, but 2-1 winners against
Tam
Morton.
put that one up.
I think Tam added a couple of goals in just at the end to rub salt into the wounds. Partick Thistle, as Ruffy mentioned, got that goal through Brian Graham. Peterhead and East Kilbride shared out a 2-2 draw, but Peterhead won on penalties, and Alloa Athletic 1, Celtic 2. It should have been comfortable enough, Hugh MacDonald, for Celtic, but there was a penalty to pay for it all, and that was Callum McGregor with a fractured eye socket, and I think that's going to keep him out for 4 to 6 weeks.
That's a huge blow for Celtic. I think he's the most influential player at Celtic. I know Kyogo rightly gets a lot of praise. Carter Vickers has played really well in the back line. There's others that have made contributions, but he's the heartbeat of the team, Callum. I think, in terms of keeping the game going, short passing, long passing, his energy, his application, his leadership, there's a big blow without him.
Yeah, I mean, they have, I think, from Ange Postecoglou's point of view, Ruffy, a fair bit of cover now with Hatate coming in and being so impressive, but he is one of those players that I think keeps the ball moving. He's neat, he's tidy, he offers himself, and of course the bigger blow for Celtic fans is he's out of a game that he totally understands. Hatate might walk out onto that part and think, this is madness.
Yeah, we've only seen a bit of Hatate, you know, that, and he looked impressive, but I mean, it's a different going into a Rangers-Celtic game. You know, you want guys who've been there before and know what it's all about. So it's a massive blow, you know. It will be 46 weeks. I had a broken cheekbone once, but he's in a different situation, you know. He's head on the ball, you know, and that brings another equation into, you know, they tend to, you're out a wee bit longer than that with everything that goes along with it. So it's a matter, we've spoke about, you know, the cancelling the game and everybody's got their view on it, but if it keeps piling up the way Celtic's going, you know, I think he's got every right to say, you know, we're going to reschedule that game.
Yeah, I can't see that happening, Tom, can you?
No, it's not going to happen unless...
If they've got 3 players,
of course,
they get 3 players.
I don't think there's going to be. I don't think Celtic are going to have 3 call-ups unless there's injuries to squad members and whatever late. But I agree with you. It's a huge blow for Celtic to lose McGregor. I think he is the best player at Parkhead, and they'll miss him badly in that Old Firm game.
Yeah. Although reading your WhatsApp, I thought it was all over. I thought that somebody declared that the title was gone. Do you feel that strongly about it still?
I do. Listen, it's not just that game. I think Hearts during the week is going to be a huge game as well at Tynecastle. You know, 2 big games. I just feel as if he's such a big player, and as Ruffy said, he knows what the fixture's all about. So, yeah, that gives Rangers the edge. Plus Nigeria getting popped at the Nations Cup last night, and Joe Aribo in the first plane back probably to Ibrox gives him a huge boost. So, I think it's all starting to turn Rangers' way at the minute.
Yeah, with Alloa in that game, I think Giacomakis came out and said he thought the tactics were slightly hard, rough, over the top at times. He wasn't happy with the way Alloa went about their business. Does he have any cause for argument there?
Only in the terms of how the referees the game. No matter how you play, the referee's got to you know, he's got to apply the laws of the game. I think if you saw it with Burnley against Arsenal, I think if you're the inferior team, you're going to try and do anything and everything, you know, to balance the play and to go in hard, or some people would say we go in unfairly, would be one way to do it. I just think the deeper problem in Scottish football is that Scottish referees don't referee the game well, and they don't referee the game the way it's refereed mostly everywhere else in the world, and that
That's a sweeping statement, Hugh.
Yeah, but I'd go, you know, having watched football, you know, in many countries. I'll give you an example. I think referees, for example, don't give yellows here. I saw it on Saturday, even at Bankside, 2 stonewall yellows, but the referee has this thing of let's let the game flow. Let's not get the cards out too early. And I see it all the time in Scottish football. Yeah. I mean, some of the tackles that go relatively unpunished in Scottish football, in fact, unpunished bar given a foul, would be automatic yellows just about anywhere else I watch.
Would you count our best 4 referees in that statement?
Aye.
Even our top ones?
Yeah, well, look at, would you say Beaton was one of our best referees?
Oh, he's up there, yeah.
Yeah, so Beaton in the League Cup final, Lewis Stevenson does Carmack in the first minute. How in the earth is that not a booking? Would anybody explain how that's not a booking?
I think the one thing I would say is the standard's not good. I think they desperately need VAR to come in and limit, I always say it's a percentage game, Hugh, to reduce the percentage of mistakes that they are making. You know, would they be going full time make any difference to this?
I don't think so. I think it's apart from the mistakes, which is fine. I think it's a tradition. I'd go back to the tradition of the way they referee. I've been watching referees. This little job I've got at the moment, I've been watching referees right through the levels and levels and pyramids. And it's one thing that's become clear to me is that this reluctance to apply the laws of the game, this almost laissez-faire attitude.
Just out of curiosity then, we didn't get a chance to speak to you about it, do you think Rangers have a valid case for putting an 8-point critique in of how Kevin Clancy handled it? I did mention at the time that if Kevin Clancy's performance was substandard, it would be for the SFA then to demote him or not give him main games. He's not on any game on Wednesday.
Yeah, but the idea behind that is that's got nothing to do with the Rangers game, because the appointments were made in advance of the Rangers game, and he could see he's applied for an availability weekend, you know, or an unavailability weekend. I think clubs are quite right to say if they feel the games have not been refereed properly, they're right to go to the SFA and say, listen, these are instances where we don't think the games are being refereed correctly. On the instances with the Rangers game, you know, that'd be up for, you know, Rangers and the SFA to have talks about, you know. But I think it's a wider problem. I really think the problem is both cultural and in terms of missing things. I think there's two things here.
What do you mean cultural?
Cultural in too much is let's go. They say, you will talk to a referee and he'll say, I never booked somebody in the first 5 or 10 minutes of an Old Firm game. Why? Oh, then you create yourself a problem, too many cards come in. You say, no. If you're not booking X guy for that foul, what happens when you're doing Wraith Rovers v Clyde the next week and you book the guy in the first 10 minutes? You say, we never booked so-and-so at Celtic Park last week.
I could probably get bogged down in a real long argument with you on it. If anything, I think the vein that probably we'd all agree on is consistency. Interpretation is another thing, and whether people have that mindset you're talking about, I'm sure I could find, you know, 10 or 12 referees who'd all come in and say, no, you know, you book it on its merits, you red card it on its merits, but it's one of those...
obviously don't.
Well, again, it's subjective. I think the standard of refereeing is, you know, poor in this country, but to try and nail down a definitive on their mindset, I think is very difficult to do, you know, because I think some referees at the moment in the big games, because it means so much, because if you've got Celtic and Rangers toe-to-toe, head-to-head, with very little points gap between them, you are getting a forensic assessment in every match, and if there's no consistency, they're all going bananas.
No, listen, the pressure's on referees, and obviously, listen, the complaint from Rangers doesn't help. You know, if Hibs or Motherwell or St Mirren, every time a decision or a couple of decisions went against them in a game, putting a complaint to the SFA, you know, we'd have no referees to referee the games. You know, you'd just be putting them in all sorts of lists. So I think referees, they make mistakes. You know, they're professionals, they make mistakes, and you've just got to abide by that. But you're right, VAR would help them. You know, would help them get the bigger decisions right. But you know, I think we need to be careful not to start blaming referees for every decision that's going and putting in complaints every week, because then there'll be nobody to referee the games. Yeah,
there is an intensity to it that since both of them have started to lock horns on a regular basis, that again, you start to, you know, I could actually count the days down when the two of them were starting to get really competitive with each other, starting to look at people's background, who they support, what pub they go to. That's the lunacy of this country. You know, I had a gentleman who sent us an email and he said, there's no doubt Kevin Clancy's bias. And I thought, well, if that's the way we're dealing, if that's the way, you know, fans have that mentality at times that as if a referee is going out, you're questioning his professionalism, that he's going to be biased in favour of one team or the other. It's a complete nonsense, Ruffy. I think it's unfair. It's almost like the point of, it's like turning around to every journalist and saying, well, if you're a Liverpool fan, you can't have an impartial view on Liverpool if you're writing about them, which is a nonsense.
Yeah, I'm sure 100%. I don't think referees going to part to favour anybody. They've got a career as well in front of them. They want to get the highest esteem. They want to be picked to do European games. They want to get picked for World Cup finals. And it's the refereeing that's going to get them there. It's not who they support or whatever, you know. So I think we all agree that they are under so much pressure, and the more things we can do to help them, the better, you know, and the inconsistencies are out there. I think some referee has said that we're short of top referees. We're fast-tracking a lot of young guys in. You know, you see more and more referees that are getting games and you don't know who they are, but they've got a career to go as well. They've got to learn somewhere and they're going to make mistakes on the way. So hopefully it's not hundreds of mistakes, but they're like young footballers coming into the game. They've got to learn their trade. And I agree that at this moment in time, it's not the best it's ever been, you know, but we just have to go on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Celtic in the end edged through, although Connor Salmon made it interesting in the end, Tam.
Yeah, they did. I think first half it was pretty competitive. Celtic missed a few chances. Gio Kamakis, Maida missed a couple. You know, should have scored, so it could have been more comfortable. once Alloa get the goal back, Celtic well, they're hanging on, but it gave Alloa a wee sniff in the last 10-15 minutes to have a go, and they couldn't create that opportunity in the last 10 minutes to equalise. But I thought Celtic were a better team throughout the game. Alloa, made it difficult for them at times. Tried to shut them down, but Celtic just totally deserved to get through into the next round.
Yeah, no problems for Rangers either, Hugh. And if you're looking at a young boy who has been obviously for club and country at the under 18s, under 17s level, Alexander Lowry. What a moment for him and his family. I mean, he side-footed the ball into the back of the Stirling Albion net.
It's terrific, and it's terrific for Scottish football that we're getting Tam will know more about this than me. We're getting crops of young kids coming through, technically good, wanting to go on and do things. We've got players at Chelsea at the moment. We've got players at Leeds. We've got players at Bayern Munich. Young kids coming through. And let's hope we can have players coming through and making an impact in Scotland, because that's a great thing. Because with Gilmore and Patterson, we've already lost 2 to other leagues. It'd be nice to see some of these players come through and stick in Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we did mention earlier, before Rangers played against Stirling Albion, the likes of a Cedric Itten could come in there and maybe get a goal and boost his confidence.
Well, the manager's already said to him, we brought you back, it's up to you to show us why we brought you here, and getting a goal. Any striker getting a goal coming back at any stage, gives you a lot of confidence. So it'd be interesting to see if he is better than what he was when he came in the first place. So, but they've got enough strikers there to see them through.
Yeah, do you agree with Tam that Joe Aribo coming back, just the pendulum swings towards Rangers?
Well, the only person the Rangers have lost is a striker. If you look across the water, they could be -4 or 5. So the pendulum definitely is with Rangers.
Yeah, pendulum. Yeah.
Pendulum. Pendulum.
I knew you were.
He falls teeth in.
I know. Sometimes if he doesn't hear you right, he just brushes over it and makes up a word. Anyway, I get your point though, Roffy. What about Aberdeen? Well, we're going to ask Andrew Shiney, because quite simply, you guys have been talking about referees, and I mean, there wasn't really any problem whatsoever for Aberdeen. Was the referee up to scratch, Andrew?
Which game? The Rangers game or the Edinburgh City game?
No, the Edinburgh City. Peter Martin in shock asks Aberdonian about Rangers. No, the Aberdeen game.
The Edinburgh game, Alan Muir had no problems in it whatsoever. He had one booking, which could very well have been a red card, a pretty wild challenge from Lee Hamilton on Eddie Jenks. But apart from that, it was like a training exercise. So there were very few fouls, no contentious moments, quite unlike Tuesday night.
Well, I have to tell you, Andrew, there was one moment that I could not stop laughing, because it reminded me of a certain Peter Van Vossen, because the ball was cut back to Jet. The goal was at his mercy. All he had to do was side foot the ball into the back of the net, and he hit the bar. I mean, I honestly, I don't know what was the reaction like inside the stadium.
I think it was the same as the Van Vossen moment at Celtic Park, utter disbelief, because Funso Ojo, as you say, laid it on a plate for him. All he had to do was hit the target. The entire goal, 8 yards by 8 feet, it was all begging to be hit, and somehow he managed to ping one off the crossbar. But the game was dead and buried as far as a contest was concerned. But it's one of those things that, had that happened in the last minute of a game that was nothing each, you would be absolutely kicking him all the way up and down Pittodrie Street. But hopefully he's learnt his lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Stephen Glass well happy with the approach of Aberdeen. It was certainly a professional approach. In the first half, pleased the Dons manager.
The way we approached the first half was made the game a little bit easier. Would have liked more goals second half, but they made it a little bit difficult, and the quality wasn't quite there in the final third. But I think it's better than the reverse if you don't start the game properly and you have to chase it second half.
24th of January, do you expect 1, 2, maybe 3 new faces in? How many, Andrew, are Aberdeen looking at? There's a strong suggestion down here he's trying to get maybe Mikey Johnson on loan.
Well, he's bought a player today, Vicente Bizawi from ADO Den Haag, who is a right winger, primarily, he can play anywhere across the front line. 20-year-old, born in Colombia. He's played through the age groups for the Netherlands. So I think that may pull back from the thought of Mikey Johnston coming to Aberdeen. And I spoke to the manager today and said, is the arrival of the new player a portent for Ryan Hedges going out the door? And he said, nobody's been in asking about Ryan Hedges. It's not a straight replacement. So as far as Stephen Glass is concerned, the squad stays as it is. There's been no direct contact that he knows of from Bologna for Calvin Ramsey. Nobody in for Lewis Ferguson. So he goes into tomorrow's night's game against St Mirren with the same squad as he's used for the last 2 games. And I think he possibly will bring one more in if he can, but I think that will be dependent on whether anybody departs.
Yeah, just before you go, Andrew, Tam, it's good. I mean, I actually think that's the one bit that's missing from Aberdeen is that ability to get the ball down the flanks, get crosses, more and more crosses into the box.
Yeah, I think they're lacking pace in the forward areas. I think, that's been clear over the last few games that I've seen Aberdeen. A lot of clever players, Hedges, Ferguson, good players, but they're missing that pace to go beyond. And particularly with Ramirez up front, you need somebody to go and try and run past him to get him behind, and maybe the lad they've signed today will go and do that. But it'll be interesting to see who Mikey Johnston goes for. I know Hibs are interested, I know Aberdeen are interested, so I think he's got to go out and play football, and I think Aberdeen, Hibs, Motherwell, teams like that would be perfect for Mikey. Yeah,
it's always good getting a 3-0 win, Andrew. It boosts the confidence, and of course we've started to see just maybe little flickers of the Aberdeen that you're hoping to see on a more consistent basis. What's the thoughts from your point of view on St Mirren tomorrow?
It's going to be tough. We lost down there earlier in the season, but we were dominant in the game until Teddy Jenks was sent off, and then 2 horrendous goals thrown in meant we lost the game. But then at Pittodrie, it was a 4-1 win for Aberdeen. Although that scoreline flattered Aberdeen, it was by no means a 4-1 performance. So I think it'll be a tough game, but they're on a decent run of form at the moment. Only 1 defeat since the beginning of December, that against Hibs. And it's that word that you mentioned there, Peter, consistency. That's what they're looking for. He's managed to have, Stephen Glass has had consistency of selection the last 2 games. Now, if he can get a consistency in the performance level from his team over the next month and a wee bit, they've got a really good chance to go way up the table. Well, certainly up to 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they definitely need a push now. This is where I think even Dave Cormack will be looking and saying, okay, listen, if I can get you 1 or 2 more players, fine and dandy, get on with it. Now we want to see some results.
Have to, absolutely have to. I mean, Hearts don't seem to be showing any sign of weakness in 3rd spot, so it's 4th spot that everybody will be up for, and that's what Aberdeen have got to aim for.
Yeah, a couple of winnable games, Ross County, Livingston, and in fact, never mind, a couple, if they can get the points against St Mirren, they've got St Johnstone, Ross County and Livingston. There's 4 right away that Andrew was talking about that could propel them up to 4th.
Yep, great run of games. St Mirren, St Johnstone, Ross County, Livingston, the next 4. If Aberdeen can go and pick up 10 or 12 points out of that, which they're capable of doing, I think, then as Andrew said there, they'll be running about that 4th spot. And I think if you look where Aberdeen were, 3 or 4 months ago, we were speaking on this show, possibly looking at a relegation battle.
Yeah.
They have improved. As I said, only 1 defeat since the start of December. So, no, he seems to be turning it around up there, which I'm glad to see. Yeah,
it was getting excruciating, Ruffy, for you and I, because we had to obviously look at Tam, and it's his mate Stephen Glass. So suddenly it was all looking as if it was going pear-shaped.
Got to give guys a chance.
He was trying to defend the indefensible.
I was actually wondering if my boy Hayes has phoned you about his hair. I don't know what colour it was. Does anybody know what colour his hair was?
To be honest with you, I think, let's be honest about it, I think Johnny Hayes has phoned Andrew Shiney about his hair, because it looks exactly the same, the both of them. But nevertheless, always good to chat to Andrew, get his insight into Aberdeen, and I'm sure he will give us the latest from the Dons in their match against St Mirren and how they fare tomorrow night. That's just one of a full card in midweek that we're looking forward to. The burning one, we've talked about the three big teams there. Hearts were absolutely strolling against Auchinleck. No shock materialised there, Hugh.
And there was one where there could have been the possibility of a shot. Auchinleck are by far the leading team in their football. Junior, well, I still call it junior. Everybody calls it semi-professional now.
Yeah.
So that was, in the old cliche, a difficult place to go. I thought Hearts would win. I think we most did, but they did it very comfortably. Put it to bed. No worries. Move on to the next game. They've got a bit of momentum going. They've got a few of their players that are actually, coming through and playing pretty well in a good bits of form. Barry Mackay in particular is settling down, looking like the player we all knew he was. So, yep, a good position, and it just sets it up perfectly for Tynecastle.
This camp today on this couch kind of splits into maybe elder statesmen and not so elder statesmen. Is that fair? Is that fair, Tam? So I'm going to ask you, Obi-Wan, for your wide knowledge of experience of managers under pressure. We all thought Kelty Hearts was going to be the one that could provide the ultimate shock. It materialised. Callum can't buy a win right now. He even admits he's under pressure.
It's extraordinary, isn't it, how quick football changes, in the summer, very strong moves. He's, manager of the year, etc., etc., etc. There's no real mystery to it. Callum will be the same coach, or he might even be a better coach because of the adversity than he was in the summer. He was just left with a bad hand to play, and you can only play a bad hand so many times. And then, of course, the other thing that happens when you've got a restricted hand to play, results start getting not so good. Tam will know what it's like to be in a dressing room that's going well, and what it's like to be in a dressing room where you can't buy a win, and that feeds on itself, and it just gets into the spiral where it's. The only thing I was really surprised about on Saturday is Kelty took it extra time, because I'd been down. I've watched Kelty a few times this season.
Yeah.
And without over-egging it, they're obviously better than a League Two team. They're a decent team that play decent football on their AstroTurf Park as well. I thought everything was going for Kelty on Saturday,
Yeah, but 11 without a win now, Tam. It's okay saying you're playing with the hand. It's as if he's trying to get something out of them, and they're not responding. So much so that interestingly enough, I think today he came out at the press conference and he was just blunt with everyone. He just basically said, "You don't want to put your neck on the line, out you go." Here's what the St Johnstone manager made of it all.
I want to stay and fight, for the club. Fight for the supporters. It was a great season last season. We talked about they weren't there, so we want to actually give them something to enjoy and to cheer. We will get stick from them. That's just nature of the game. But yeah, be here, be ready to fight. If you're not, then don't bother turning up to training.
Well, yeah, if you're not ready to fight, don't bother turning up for training. There's a line.
Yeah, listen, as Hugh said, it's amazing how it turns. The worm turns in football. Last season, can do no wrong. A St Johnstone legend, being linked to a lot of bigger clubs. He's probably wishing he took that one of the jobs now. I don't think maybe the right job came up or the right opportunity, but now, as you said, 10 straight defeats. They scored 3 goals in 11 games. 11 games. They scored 3 goals.
It's it's not. You don't have to look far to see the problems.
They can't score a goal. Well, sign a striker. Score a goal.
The problem as well, as you say, they can't score a goal. But last season, nobody could score a goal against them. You know what I mean? And if they got the solitary goal, you're thinking it's going to be 1-0 St Johnstone.
Look at the winner on Saturday. Look at the winner on Saturday. Yeah. That is the most un-St Johnstone-like goal to concede.
He's running in and goal, Hugh, with 2 players behind him and all in front of him.
See, and then when he gets into the area as well, he's still got a bit of work to do and can complete his bit of work. The goalkeeper perhaps comes out a bit too early and lunges. The defender doesn't close it. Just a catalogue of things that you would say St Johnstone don't normally do. And we talked the other week there about John Souttar and loyalty in football, and I was very strong that John Souttar should do very much what suits John Souttar and John Souttar's family, because it is a profession. let's see what the loyalty that's given to Callum Davidson by supporters, by I think the board will stick by him, no bother at all.
Is this not loyalty, Hugh? 11 games is loyalty.
Well, I think
sticking by him.
Well, I think
The board are to blame as well, because they sold two of his best players
Last day
right
of the
under his nose and gave him no time at all. So they're culpable as well. They've got to sit back and say, okay, he's going a bad run. We've done this, we've done that. But there comes a time. It can't go on. It can't go on.
But
I thought Callum's interview after the game was pretty honest. I thought he said, "No, I'm under pressure. I could lose my job."
For Enzo, if you're looking at a situation from the outside, right, and without the emotion of St John's, I can understand the emotion of St John's, and I can understand the fear of the board, because they're saying to themselves, if we go down, we have no certainties. That's a bad league to try and get out of.
Yeah.
And I can understand all of that. But if you look at, for instance, what are the problems at the St Johnstone at the moment? Would you say the manager was high on that priority?
No,
I wouldn't.
I mean, I don't think anybody is taking the easy way out on this one. Do you think Callum Davidson should be sacked? In my mind, no. I think his remit is simple, Tam. I said it on Friday before he kicked the ball against Kelty. Get them away from playoff minimum, but then one above the playoff. That's your remit now. Forget the cups. You've won the cups, you're in history. Get something out of this team in the league games.
Wednesday's huge. Dundee at home. That is the two teams that they are starting to get detached at the bottom now,
aren't they?
And if Dundee go there and win, I think he might lose his job. I think he might lose his job, because there's going to be a 5 or 6 point gap to, second bottom. And all of a sudden you're looking as if they're big favourites to get relegated now. And I think Wednesday is a huge game for both managers. James McPake as well. That is a massive game.
Yeah, I mean Dundee. Listen, penalty aside, they're no great shakes. Ruffy,
We really missed the penalty.
Yeah,
the goalkeeper nearly saved it.
Yeah.
But just to go back to, I think Callum Davidson's more likely to make a decision. He seems that kind of guy, that would say, "Look, I've done my best here. Maybe it is better than you face in here and step aside rather than the board sacking him."
When was the last manager?
No, I think I just get the feeling for his interview, he's doing his best, and I think everybody knows he's an honest enough guy. And I think some managers say, "Look, I can't get in this crowd. I'm going to." I think it'd be good for him, because I think he's done enough.
Yeah.
At St Johnstone.
They're not saying a new deal, Callum Davidson.
Yeah, but I can't remember a
think he's gonna walk
manager.
away.
Not that Ruffy would ever do it. I can't remember a manager. God, I'm really racking my brain, Hugh, to think of a manager who said, I'm going to go without any kind of compensation whatsoever.
Well, it's rare. It's very rare, and I can see why. I'm pretty strong in this. If you've got a contract, the contract works both ways, and if people want rid of you, you know how difficult my terms are with you, Peter. That's why I've survived 10 years. My buyout clause is
just too much.
It's just too much. You can't. I'm too big to fail.
Can't argue with you. Stephen McNamara doesn't have a high opinion of me. He says you're going to say he shouldn't be sacked when it gets to 15 defeats in a row, Peter. I mean, listen. At the end of the day, there is a point when you actually say to yourself, and we have said it on this programme. Neil Lennon's a classic example. If your position's untenable and you're getting nothing out of a team, sooner or later you have to, as a journalist or a pundit, say enough is enough. But I think it's still salvageable for St Johnstone.
Yes.
I think he's bought himself. If in this world you give a club of St Johnstone's stature 2 cups, 2 of the major domestic trophies, and that doesn't gain you any kind of, compassion, time, and all the other circumstances that have to be taken into consideration, then the ball's burst, as they say.
No, it is. But I mean, you talk about loyalty. Look at Jack Ross. He, third in the league for the first time in 15 years. Gets his 2 cup finals, semi-finals, 9 games without a win. Binned.
Yeah.
So I don't think any manager's safe. But I do think this Wednesday coming is a huge game. I don't think he can afford to lose the game.
I think that's a great point, because I think if you're at the bottom of that league and you're a board, what you're looking at is who's going to be involved in this struggle?
Yeah.
And because we're into the nitty gritty, we're past the break, you know, we're hurtling
And Ross
towards.
County and Livingston are starting to win
Exactly.
games, and they're starting to pull the weight. So it's a two horse race.
And it might, and you're looking at it, that's the point I was trying to make. You're saying Ross County are winning games, and Ross County are scoring goals. Now they're leaking them and all that, but they're getting points. Livingston will be Livingston, right? So they'll get points and they'll get wins. You're looking at it, is it just, if you're at St John's, you say, is it just us in Dundee for the two places? Will somebody plummet? Will a Dundee United just plummet or anything? But that's a big ask, that you're hoping for a team to plummet above you.
Yeah, exactly.
It is nitty gritty time.
Malky says, and I agree with you, Malky, there aren't many in football that would walk away without any compensation, and I agree with you as well. If you've got your contract, why should you? And Hugh Scott, who always, like many, and Stephen as well, we value your opinion. You know, some of us will disagree in this programme. That's the joy of football. Hugh Scott says, I think the 2 cups have indeed bought him some time until now, but unfortunately the clock is now ticking for him, Hugh says, and I think Hugh, like so many others, are looking. I mean, listen, Ruffy, if he'd the Watford board, he'd have been out 6 weeks ago, you know, because I am waiting for the next day or 2 or 3 when you say to yourself, Watford have sacked Claudio Ranieri and in comes someone else.
Well, it happens every year in England. The bottom 4, if the owners or the board decide that the guy who's in there isn't getting games, then they panic and they sack them, and they give it to a manager who has been down there and done something, and they think, well, he's going to rescue us, you know, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, well, listen, we got the definitive over the weekend. I like one hit, extra time, penalties, no replays. That's the way to go.
Well, it's a way to go for, I think it's a way to go for us, but whether it's the way to go for clubs looking for a payday.
Look at you, honestly.
You know, well,
honestly, see your opinion. See your opinion over 10 years. When you were off the board, you were thinking more ruthlessly. When you're on the board now, you're totally compromised.
What, the referee sends you a player off and you've got to play extra time with 10 men?
No, I like it. Tam?
I like it as well. I don't like replays.
I wouldn't even go to
I
extra
don't like
time, by
replays,
the
but
way.
I'm not involved in a board. It needs the money. You know, I can imagine an Annan v Rangers. Imagine Annan somehow miraculously get a draw against Rangers in 90 minutes. And then you go to extra time and get pumped. But they're thinking they could have got a replay in front of 50,000.
But Tam, see in a cup game, you play your 90 minutes. You have 90 minutes in a game to play to beat the opposition.
Play a finish.
See if you don't get there. See at the 90 minutes you don't get there. Penalties. Why go to extra time again? Why drag it out? Go to 90 minutes, go to penalties, make it even more exciting.
Well, why don't you just come on at the start of the game? Not have a game, toss the coin, just toss the coin, whoever wins, and we can all go home.
Do the MLS, do the MLS one with the one that wins with the goalies.
Did you see Jim McInally's interview? His game went to penalty kicks, and the interviewer says, well, Jim, how did you feel about the penalty kicks? And he says, I turned around to my assistant saying, they'll have to miss a couple of penalties because our goalkeeper can't save them.
That is absolutely brilliant. That's typical Jim McInally, absolutely top drawer. Here's the 5th round draw in case you missed it all. Although quite where you've been over the weekend, it's Peterhead against Dundee, which I think Jim will relish. He's living in his Broughty Ferry house, not too far away. He'll know a few Dundonians in the blue.
Delivering prescriptions as we speak.
Yes, Motherwell Aberdeen are both against Hibernian, which is a cracker. Oof, that's got cup shot written all over it. Hearts against Livingston. Annan against Rangers. Partick Thistle against Dundee United.
A call revenge.
Yes, there it is. That's it coming. St Mirren against Kelty Hearts and Celtic against Wraith Rovers, which just conjures up all sorts of nightmares for Celtic fans from previous cup exploits against. Yeah, absolutely. And I was playing actually at the weekend with one of the guys who was in the Wraith Rovers side.
Yep, big Ali Graham.
Big
striker, big pal of mine. So that's.
I was at Wraith Rovers on Saturday. Well, at the Wraith Rovers game on Saturday, the Banks of D.
Were you impressed with him, Hugh?
Well, every time I watch Wraith Rovers, I'm impressed with them. In that John McGlynn, I think, is an excellent coach, and I think the way they play football is to be admired. And yeah, I just thought they were on Saturday. When you talk about cup shocks, they were almost conspiring to create a cup shock for themselves because They missed absolute sitters. I mean, really blooper material all match, and then.
What about the football that they played? Because Charlie mentioned last year that
Raith played great football. I mean, James McPake said last year as well that in the playoffs that Raith were very unlucky against them in the playoffs. You know, they needed a lot of experience and nous to get past Raith in the play. They play great football, got some really talented players in the teams, and Atta was smashing on Saturday with them. Just a wee bit in lack of that great phrase, you know, surgical precision up front.
Yeah.
But if they had that, they'd be running away with it. I mean, that's. We always go back to this. It's like St Johnstone's problem and most teams' problem is that, you know, it's top goal scorers are just...
They're at a premium, aren't they?
It's just, I mean, that's what... It can change anybody's season, having a top... One player can just... Changes everything from the 1-each draw to a 2-1-1, the 0-each draw to a 1-0 1-0 defeat, a 1-each... I mean, these guys just accumulate points of the season.
That's why I was in such big demand.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you saying that, Tam, because, you know, I know you're slightly tongue-in-cheek about the whole thing, but, you know, when I was growing up as a boy watching Scottish football, Ruffy, we had such a lot of people to call on. I mean, I even look at, St Johnstone, John Brogan was a great striker. I can remember going to Muirton, and watching Ali McCoist play alongside him in a cold, wet night. You know, we had in the lower leagues as well great players. I saw a great picture, and I think it was in the Sun at the weekend, of Andy Ritchie. Looking forward to the game against Motherwell, but
well, look, for example, if you had, I mean, we're talking international class players and that, but if Raith Rovers had somebody like John Robertson on Saturday, they'd have been 3-4-0 up. And I'm talking about John Robertson now. I'm not talking about when he was playing with Hearts.
Gordon Gale was a good player for Raith Rovers as well when he was up front. They'd Stevie Crawford. Up front.
He's an internationalist.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I can recall, in 1994, I think they also had Jason Dare, Colin Cameron, and Danny Lennon. That's not a bad little collection of players to call on.
Danny scored in Old München of Bayern.
Yeah, the Olympic Stadium. That was my first ever commentary here.
No,
Raith Rovers against Bayern Munich. Danny Lennon took a deflection, but who cares?
Your first commentary. I think I'd been made redundant twice by then.
You were going to say something wrong?
No, I was going to say we're talking about the Scottish Cup. You know what's
you can win it?
Did you know what's becoming embarrassing?
What?
The draw.
Why?
The people who are taking the draw. Who's deciding who's making these people doing the draw?
Now, can I just say to you?
Absolutely disgraceful.
I think you should get you in.
Can I just say
I think
to
there's a fee as well.
What's up with you?
The guy was terrible. It did
Only
it.
picking balls out of hat.
I was going to say to you, I mean, I know.
No,
I thought you were actually going to have a go at one of my girls who used to work for us.
She's fine. I don't have a problem with her at all.
No, Connie's fine.
Him.
What was his name again?
Something Beatty.
Yeah, I think he was trying to do a wee bit of the Rod Stewart, but to be honest with you, since Rod's actually turned it into, you know, it's like Buster Keaton movie, isn't it? You know,
but he can get away with it.
Yeah,
Rod
can get away with it. I don't think the other boy has many hits, but nevertheless, who cares? As long as you get your draw, as long as you see who's...
Something just come up in my earpiece there.
Go on.
Ranieri has indeed just been sacked.
You're joking me, aren't you?
I just seen it on your phone there.
Oh, is that right? Oh, that's good. Honestly, I am literally just waiting on your man, and I mean, I cannot believe that. I mean, that is incredible, isn't it?
Well, that's it. I don't know.
I bet he's walked away without compensation.
You see that? I can't take the club any further. I'm not away.
I mean, that is...
Tinker man.
That is it. That's incredible, isn't
it? It really, but that ties pretty close to the Watford way of working. You know, they just look at a head coach as somebody, and to be fair, it's really worked for them. I mean, they've had one relegation, but with a low budget. I mean, it's a club run in, shall we say, not a less than very clear manner, but it's a club that's run, you know, they've got other clubs.
What a brilliant way. That is a pure journalist at his best legally. I've got to shake your hand. That was brilliant the way you dodged that magnificently.
And they've got other clubs, etc., and they run them for specific reasons and turnover, etc. But they always look at coaches as interchangeable. You know, it's like if it doesn't work, and if you look at the list of coaches I've had over the years, and some very good coaches, Silva was there and others. they just say, right, you're not doing the job, bin you out. I bet you Ranieri's on a very short contract here as well, because they're clever people.
Yeah.
They might be, I bet it won't extend longer than the end of the season.
70-year-old Ranieri now, surely he's just got to be
It was a mad move.
surely
Anyway.
he's just got to be chilling out now and plenty of money.
Might just be 10
Me
million.
and Ruffy. What, me and
Aye,
Ruffy?
like used to.
Aye, it's just
10 million. See you later.
See you later.
Same age as Ruffy. Imagine Ruffy managing the Premier or something.
Is Ranieri the same age as you?
Aye, 70.
70.
That's fantastic.
He looks far better than Ruffy.
I was going to say, he's not as good at you at tennis, Ruffy. I can tell him that right now, and I haven't even seen him. Ranieri sacked. Would you believe
Just
that?
flapped out your phone.
It came up my phone. Anyway, apart from anything else, Callum Davis is still there, and he's got a job to do, and what a job to do in midweek, because there are some howitzer games to look forward to. I mean, St Mirren, Aberdeen. St Mirren have just got that wee confidence boost, Ruffy, now. Aberdeen, we speak to Andrew every week, and he's looking for the consistency. I don't know if they're getting it or not.
No, but that'll be a tight one. I don't think there'll be many goals in that one. I don't know which way it'll sway. I just think the boy Ramirez up front looks as if he's getting his act together now. I thought he took his goal well. I know he wasn't far out at the end, but he looked as if he had the confidence, to strike it for where he was. So, obviously St Mirren getting that win at the weekend, but it's against a team for a lower division, so I think it's a tight one.
Yep. Okay. That's tomorrow night's game. What do you think, Hugh?
I think it's a draw. I think there's. I wouldn't make too strong a case for either team there.
Sam?
Fancy Aberdeen. I just think they're in a good run of form at the minute. They were unlucky down there. I watched the game. It was live on the TV. 2-1 up, cruising, and sent off. And then Joe Lewis threw one in. They beat them 4-1 at home. So I think Aberdeen will take a full complement of supporters down there as well, which I think will help them. 2-1 Aberdeen for me.
Just out of curiosity, and I don't know if I asked you guys, did we predict who we thought would win the Scottish Cup? I don't think we get anybody's real tip on it. Ruffy, have you got anybody in mind? Bearing in mind they're in the mix now in that draw.
For me, it's always Rangers or Celtic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think any of
Well, it's not always Rangers or Celtic. You look back in the last 10 years, it's not.
Well, I know, but they'll be there
Celtic
or
have been-
thereabouts.
yeah.
They'll be there or there. That's what team Hearts are. Hearts, depending on the way the draws go, look as if they're the team that could maybe challenge the two of them. I think Hibs have lost it a wee bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, it would be an absolute act of stupidity not to select the big two. But if there was one outside it, Hugh, who would you go for?
I wouldn't write off Hibs, and I wouldn't write off Aberdeen or Hearts either. I think you've got to look at it to win I mean, we all know to win the Scottish Cup, Celtic or Rangers have got to be beaten, and somebody's got to beat them for you.
Yeah.
I mean, St Johnstone to win their two cups last year, they beat Celtic and Rangers to go about it. So I think it is a matter of draws. If you got Celtic at Tynecastle on a Wednesday night, would you be certain that Celtic would make the final? If Rangers had to go back to Aberdeen on a Wednesday night, would you be certain of them? Hibs against either of them at Easter Road? But all things being equal, it's and it's a different pathway. It's a Celtic Rangers final, isn't it?
Yeah. Listen, there's a cracking game on Wednesday at Tynecastle because Hearts against Celtic, and I'm glad there's a crowd in because that's really when it does just start to cackle inside Tynecastle. And Robbie Nielsen has mentioned that the way they're playing, they're looking up the table now and not what's happening behind them.
Celtic are a very, very good team, but we're in a position just now that we've got a home game against them. That if we can pick up 3 points, we go within 6 of them, and it keeps us closer. But we spoke all the time with players about looking up the way and not looking behind us. I think if we can aim for the two teams at the top of the league, then we don't need to worry about what's coming behind. And it's an opportunity, a home game against Celtic's a great one for us, and we'll get a great result at the start of the season, and we hope to do it again.
Yeah, he's looking for another couple of players as well, Tom.
He is. I think he's in a good position now because of how well they've done. Hearts and Joe Savage seems to have been in there and been a good appointment for them. So he's probably looking for a couple of other players. It'd be important for him to keep a hold of his better players as well. Try and keep a hold of Suter, I think, to the end of the season. So no, Hearts look strong at the minute. They look strong, and that'll be a very difficult game for Celtic, particularly if they're missing, McGregor, who's a captain who knows what these fixtures are all about. So I think I've went for a draw in that game. I don't think Celtic will beat Hearts at Tynecastle.
Yeah, you gone for a draw?
No,
on
I
that
think I
one?
went for a draw.
Okay, I mean, the story just coming out that he's going to miss at least 7 games, and they're going to try and limit it to 4 weeks, of course. 4 weeks, and then you've got to try and get yourself back in there and up to speed
Wear
again.
a mask, probably.
Yeah, McGregor might have the mask on, but the operation, the surgery for the fractured cheekbone will take place if it hasn't already. But he's definitely going to be out for at least 7 games, which is a huge void.
It's a massive void. He's fortunate. Celtic manager's fortunate he's brought that many people in. You know, it'll be interesting to see if he goes and tries to add to it. He's got a week left, you know, and he'll identify that it's a massive loss as well. But whoever they go for, it has to be a first team player.
Yeah, Dundee United against Ross County is interesting, if only for the fact that, as Tam mentioned, two teams are coming up against each other at the bottom end. If Ross County were to take something at Dundee United, that gap just becomes, you know, a huge worry for both teams. Never mind, they'll not be thinking about how can we catch them. It's just who's going to go and play off who's getting relegated.
And Ross County, the one thing to say about Ross County, there's a bit of vibrancy and energy and goals about Ross County. We know they're not the perfect side. We know that, you know, it's you know, they will always still be involved in the bottom league. But I think if you're scoring goals, it gives you hope, gives the team hope, gives the fans hope. There's a bit of pace up front as well, which is always is a good thing. Malky Mackay's a good coach. Has got them. And they, again, I mean, I don't think there's any inclination at the moment they're going to do it, but they've got another week to improve. And they'll be sitting and talking, and we know that if they want players and they think that players are necessary, Roy McCormack just goes into his pocket and says, well, here you are.
Yeah.
So I think another huge game for them, but I think it's promising for Ross County at the moment.
Yeah, you managed to roll in two chairmen's names all in one there. Roy McGregor.
Sorry.
Don't worry, I'll keep you. That's why I'm here. That's why I've been man-marking you for 10 years.
When you're on this side of the couch, you're
That's
allowed,
what just
you're allowed that. You're allowed that.
But Roy has got the resources.
That's what he
there.
does, Hugh.
And they're a club that's they make pretty big decisions as well.
Yeah.
They don't shrink back, and when push comes to shove, they know how important it is to stay in that league, and they bring on players.
I think you consider Ross County as a Premier League side. That's because of his endeavours as well.
Absolutely.
But don't be lectured by him. It took him 2 years to wonder who Alfredo Morelos was. So
I don't even mention him.
Just the Rangers striker.
Ross County. The boy Callaghan.
from
in
Hamilton.
midfield. Aye, I think he's a tremendous player for them.
Yeah.
He's my kind of player, box to box, in there, goals, everything.
Yeah, energy. You like a box to box midfielder.
Yeah.
Are you a box to box midfielder, or do you like a wee bit of craft?
I like a bit of craft. I like I don't know, a little bit Moravchik type, a maverick. But no, I think Ross County, I think they're the third or fourth highest scorers in the league. Hungbo and Charles Reagan Cook, two wingers.
Yeah.
Jordan White's a focal point up there. I think they'll have no problems with staying up. I think they'll be looking further up the table rather than behind them.
I agree with you, Tom. You through here, or have you got to go somewhere else for your studio for Motherwell Hibs?
I'm going to studio.
Yeah.
So I'll be, and at Broth Hibs, hopefully I'll be in the studio and don't need to go to Broth.
Yeah.
Because their press facilities consist of a cupboard.
To be fair, if it's Hibs TV, and you want any kind of authenticity, he's got to be outside at a Broth, just outside with the wind lashing, the rain lashing his face.
And the sort of abseil kit on, swinging about.
And the last one, listen, Rangers against Livingston on Wednesday night. Again, it's one of those ones where I think with Aribo coming back, you know, again, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has looked at the way they played at the weekend. There was no problems. It was a convincing one. It's always good when you get a couple of players back and one of them chips in with a goal as well. Tavernier's always on the score sheet. Everything just looks rosy in the garden at the moment.
Yeah, and particularly at home, you know, with the support behind them, you know, and they've got players that can come in and do the same kind of job, you know, so I can't see Rangers having any problems in that game.
Yeah. Did you go for the Rangers?
Rangers will win that comfortably, 2-0.
Yeah, I've got that.
For me,
Yep. And did we get a prediction out of you guys for St Johnstone Dundee?
Look, I'm going to go for St Johnstone.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him getting sacked.
Oh, right, okay. He's such
Rather
a,
McPake gets sacked. Rather McPake gets sacked in.
you're such a...
Well,
well, he won't get sacked for...
You'll not get sacked.
He'll not get sacked for that game, will he?
I don't think so, but that's a huge game for both managers.
Well, no,
it really is.
I can't even see St Johnstone win it.
I can't either.
I
I think Dundee will win it narrowly.
Yeah, if anything, I'm going to go for a draw, Hugh, because I think both of them are very, very poor. And I say that looking at it and thinking to myself, you know, the players, do you know the recruitment, I think, is the biggest bugbear at Dundee, and the selling of stars at St Johnstone has really kind of scuppered the manager's plans. As Hugh has mentioned, you can only play with the cards you're dealt with, and
That game is going to be a shocker. Now, if there's over two goals in that game, I'll be shocked. I think that is 0-0 or 1-0 to somebody all over it.
yeah, and Hugh Scott has just
Hugh
noticed
Bootens.
something in the programme, by the way. He says, Peter, Hugh has actually gone for Rangers to beat Livingston, which is a shock. I think it ends a 9-week run.
It does.
Yeah, and you're still in the mix in the predictor, Hugh. I mean, you haven't lost any ground. You know what I mean? So people can't criticise you.
He's still waiting for Rangers to hit that bad spell so he can go to deal.
Yeah, Hugh. At least Cowan's at the bottom end of it. Anyway, so the news, as we mentioned there, just looking over the Scottish Cup results and then looking to the midweek card. We'll be doing that tomorrow again in the company of Ruffy and Alison. Will be with us, and if she's not, then you'll sub in for her, Hugh. Is that fair?
That's it.
Okay, so that's
Shift for you.
well,
it,
absolutely. I'm amazed to get in front of you.
know.
In front of you, he's your man. He's our go-to man. And also, I think this week we're going to be doing a little special programme. I'll see if I can attract McManus out of his house to go to. We're going to Social Recluse. We're going to do a show in Social Recluse, the shop in King Street in Glasgow, Ruffy. I'm really looking forward to it. Thursday. Yeah, we're going to. Yeah, we're going to.
You've got a board meeting, have you not?
You've got a board meeting.
Oh, he never told me it was really important, you know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, your gig is now gone because I've taken it. So enjoy your board meeting.
Yeah, enjoy your board meeting, Ruffy, and look at the graph upside down. Hugh, from the weekend's football, we did just mention there just before we go that Claudio Ranieri has been bulleted. And again, from a 3-0 win, suddenly Dean Smith looks as if he's going to perform the escape act with Norwich. Long way to go, but if I'm looking at the bottom end, I'm seeing Watford, I'm seeing Burnley there, and then the third one. Who would you put in the third place?
Well, Newcastle. I mean,
You think they're still going to be in it?
I think they're definitely going to be. I mean, they've got to. Yes, they've got the resources to find players in the next week, but who are they going to find? What are the players? Are the players available that they really want to come in and get involved in a relegation / championship future? Who knows? What I've watched of Newcastle, I think they're well in it. And there's always a team that parachutes down as well and gets involved in it. And I think there'll be concerns over Everton at the moment.
Yeah. I'm going to go Watford and Burnley, and I still think eventually Norwich will come a cropper. Ruffy, what about you?
Yeah, I think Newcastle will dig themselves out. Just
Yeah.
hanging on by the skin of their teeth.
And then after that, they'll start to sign, Edison Cavani's son, son of Mbappe, the lot. They'll be firing money out like there's no tomorrow, Tam. That's the great imbalance of English football now.
Yeah, I still think Newcastle will get a couple in before the window. I just think they're desperate. They don't want to get relegated. They don't want to lose that money. And
Well, I mean, relegation would be an absolute disaster for them. Because it's again, that championship, if you're in that championship, there's no way. I mean, there's no way you can just say, well, I'll have a season in there and we'll come back.
Yeah.
That's championship. Look at the championship today, anybody, and it's a graveyard of great teams, European Cup winners, European Cup semi-finalists, all the way
Forest.
through.
Yeah, all can't
been
get
there
out of
for
it.
20 years.
Yeah.
Derby Counties, West Bromwich Albions, and even teams of recent vintage that have gone down. It's hugely
Sunderland,
difficult.
Portsmouth.
Yeah, some
League One.
League One, can I go to League One?
Incredible. Just one little last point, Ruffy. Man City dropped points at the weekend. Any sniff that Liverpool could maybe catch them?
Well, if the referee keeps giving them penalties, they've got a chance.
There you are. We started with referees, we've finished with referees. Anyway, you can agree to disagree. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, you'll get the notifications. If you download the PLZ Soccer app, you'll get all the latest breaking stories right across the UK, Europe and globally, as well as being able to watch the football show at your leisure as well. There's a few things I want to mention just quickly, guys, that I forgot to at the start of the programme, and I might as well say it. Dave Smith says Dundee not much better than Dumbarton on the day, and he says, being a lifelong Suns fan, I agree with you, Peter. The standard of Scottish football overall has dropped dramatically. Ronnie and Dinky, Ruffy, say please give us a shout out. They're big fans of the show. If you could give Ronnie and Dinky a wee wave.
Well done, Ronnie and Dinky.
There you are, said with the sincerity of a man who really didn't want to do it. And any chance of a wee shout out for my nephew Dean Young, who turned a pro snooker player last summer, won his match at snooker shootout last night. Well done, Dean, from your uncle Andrew. And Harry Fitzpatrick, probably the last point here, says, well, on Friday's show, Ruffy was spot on. The Loney Alloa player from Thistle won't make it easy for Celtic. What did you think of the tackle on Ideguchi?
I thought it was hard. Unfortunately, it caught him in the follow through, but I thought it was a decent tackle.
Yeah, I don't know if we've got this, but we did. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if we've got this. We've actually got another person who's watching. It's not necessarily a person, Ruffy, but if you can have a look here, here is. I think it's an iguana who watches Peter and Ruffy. It's a bearded dragon, apparently. Our producer has said, there it is.
I've seen a few of them.
So yet another bearded dragon is watching Ruffy. So, on that note, thank you for that picture. I wish I knew who it was that sent it to us. It's completely and utterly gone from me, but nevertheless, thank you for sending that picture. And well done also to John McNamara, who sent us a picture last week from Poland. His man Cave will be sending something out to you as well, John. Thank you to Tam, to Hugh, to Ruffy for that line alone, and from myself, Peter Martin. Join us tomorrow at 4 if you can.